Okay, so today I'm gonna go over how I made a slap bass remix out of Bad Habit. Hope you guys enjoy this. Let's go. Okay, so for my drums, they're super basic. I have kicks, claps, some hi-hats, and a shaker loop. Nothing special about that. They sound like this, soloed. And we can go through them like one by one. Kick. On the kick I have a little EQ. I just take off a little bit of the top. And then I have a few claps. Sound like this. A little bit EQ, a little bit of distortion. Just to make it a little bit more crunchy, like for this one for example. Again here is a little bit crunchy. A little bit more crunchy. And then you just roll off the bottom. Same goes for the claps. And then I add some like extra claps. I think, yeah, it's on the second one, on the second clap. So it goes like, so you get a little bit variation. That's about it. Then I add some hi-hat loops. And then there's like an extra hi-hat every now and then. So you get a little bit like some extra rhythm. And then I added some stadium claps that goes to give the extra vibe, to give some more energy into the track. I think they work very good. I think this is actually pretty good. So all together, they sound like this. And that's for the chorus. And I think in the verse I just have a very, very basic shake loop that goes. There's nothing else. It goes like this. Pretty low. I just gotta fill out the track. Alright, so that's it for drums. Okay, so now we're at the bass part. The bass part is not super difficult either. So I have 4 basses that makes it up to one cohesive bass, and they all go through one bus that glues everything together. So the first bass sound is this. Nothing special about this one. And the second bass sound is this. Third bass sound. And then we have a sub bass that holds all the. This one holds all the low frequency. This the subway sub bass hold all the low frequencies. And all together sound like this. And if you listen to this, they don't glue that well together. So when I go put it through the bus, I have a little bit of distortion to glue it. And already here you can hear it's like thicker and better. Now a tiny bit of compression. You just glue it a little bit more together. And this is the one that gives it the sound, because this is a multi-band distortion, and then you have different things for each band. So you can see it's one band is between 20 Hz and 150 Hz, and one is between 150 and 2 kHz, and then between 2 kHz and 20 kHz. So what this basically do is, so what this basically do is this: without, with. Now it actually sounds like one sound instead of 4. So I'm gonna go on. I have a little bit of EQ Just taking off a little bit of the low end, a little bit of the muddy frequencies, a little bit of like mid. And then it's another like compressor just to glue it. And then I have a limiter on just to cut the top off. You see this one is only cutting off like 1 decibel. And that's nothing more. And then I have like a sidechain that gives it the bounce. So this one is super simple. It's like Nick Romero Kickstarter plugin. I just put it on with basic preset and 100%. And with the drums, it sounds like this. Okay, so in the verse, I have a respace, and the respace sounds like this. Just gonna loop this. So nothing special. And the first respace sounds like this. And the second one sounds like this. The second one is basically just a sub bass to give it a little bit more weight. And the processing for the first respace is a little bit of distortion to give the glue, a little bit of compression just to tighten it up, and a little bit of EQ. I just roll off a little bit of the bottom. And this one is just for automation. So I can show you the effect. The only thing that matters is actually just distortion. So it sounds like this without distortion. And with. You can hear it gives a little bit extra crunch, makes it a little bit more in your face. So that's it for the bass. Super simple. Okay, now we're gonna go through the synths, the lead sounds, the guitars, and the piano and everything like that, the pads. So first I have like a lead sound that's in the chorus. I think it's actually pretty cool. It's nothing super complicated, but it sounds like this. And it's made out of 2 different synths. This is the main one. And this one is actually pretty heavy affected, so we can just turn everything off, and it sounds like this. And then I add a little bit of like cashmere. I think this plugin is actually pretty cool. You can add a little bit of everything just to make it sound better. And then as a theme, it's a decapitator, distortion, just to glue it, make it a little bit fatter. And then I have a little bit of like stereo image, just to make it a little bit wider, not much. And I have some OTT compression. It's like a multiband, upward, downward compression. I think it brings out a little bit of the harmonics and makes it a little bit brighter. Have some EQ, just to roll off the bottom, and a little bit of the super highs, and one very annoying frequency. And then we have some compression, just to like glue it together a little bit, like tighten it. You can see it's just very, very gentle compression. It's not a lot, like, because we have like distortion, and then we have compression here, and then we just add a little bit more. And then I take off a little bit of the attack, because I thought the attack on the sound was a little bit too much. So I use this transient designer just to remove a little bit. It's like almost barely noticeable. But I think it like makes the sound a little bit better, just for a song. Then I have some sidechain. like we went through. This on this one I only used 34% instead of full. So it still keeps the bounce, but it doesn't like go too much. Like if I use the full one, it's too much pump. It's pumping too much. So I think 34 is pretty good. And then I just added a little bit of like delay, just to make it a bit more spacious, and I add a little bit of reverb. And then for the next sound, I have this, and there a decapitator, just to make it a little bit fatter. Still have the same OTT compression, just a little bit more. Get a little bit more like harmonics and stuff like that. I have an EQ, basically the same, cutting off all the lows and a little bit of the highs. Taking off a little bit of the transients. And I have a sidechain, a little bit more because this is not the main sound, so I want this to not conflict as much. And then I have some reverb. It just gives a little bit of weight to it, nothing more than that. And then before that, when it comes in, I have two sounds like this. So it feels like the lead is just pulling into the song. Sounds like this all together. I think it makes the track a little bit better. Makes it a bit more like, oh, I can hear something coming, and then you can hear it coming in. So I think that's very effectful. Then we have the guitars. The guitar parts are not super complicated. I used a plugin called Nexus, and it just sounds like this. It's basically the same guitar parts everywhere, with just a little bit of like different effects, so it fits better in the track. It sounds like this when it's from Nexus. So nothing super special. And then I just add a little bit of like OTT compression. Put a sample delay on the one in the verse, just to make it a little bit more wide. And then put this effect plugin as ensemble. You can hear it change a little bit of phase on a weird way. So it's not like it sounds a little bit like a phaser and a chorus and something like that, but it's not exactly that. And it actually pushes the sound a little bit more back. I think that's very good, because I don't want this to be the main sound. I want the vocals to be the focal point. And then just a little bit of EQ, like taking off a little bit of the lows and a little bit of the annoying frequencies. And it's the same for the chorus. But then instead of the ensemble, I use microshift. And I push it kind of a lot, so it gets a little bit more wide. And then I have one in the post-chorus. That's automated. So kind of the same thing, same as the verse, but just a little bit different. Pianos, I think. No. Pianos. Okay, so we have pianos, and there's some synths. So I have like a group of everything. And it sounds like this with everything in. So the first sound is like a Nexus piano. I think it's the Ghost piano preset. I thought it would be pretty fitting for this song. I just put a little bit, sounds like this from the start, and then I add a little bit distortion to give it a little bit more like a broken feeling, which I think is very good. And then back to like OTT compression, just 14% this time. You can hear it like lifts the sound up a little bit, more like a smiley face. And then I just added a little bit of a lot of reverb. Holy. But why I put so much reverb is because I want the piano to be in the back. Maybe I don't have to use 100%, but I thought for this song it was actually like kind of good. And for the second piano, this is a contact piano. I think it's a Giant, yep. I don't remember which preset I used, but I think I just tweaked it a little bit. So it sounds like this. It's just a beautiful piano. I could actually like add some sustain pedals and stuff like that to make it even better, but like I didn't notice it when I made the track. So, and for this one, same distortion, OTT compression, reverb, and then I have an EQ. Doesn't do shit, it's just there. And under that I have a pad. I think it's a Serum preset, Swedish pad. Sounds like this. Very fitting for the song. Sounds like this. Nothing special. I have a little bit of EQ. Just take out the mid frequencies and some simple delay to make it wide. And then I have a pad. The pad sound, same thing. This is background sounds that I don't do too much with them. I just try to make them sit in the back. I added this plugin because it can make the sound weird, but it can also make it like fitting and a little bit more spooky. Like it doesn't add too much, but you can hear when you pause the sound, what you should listen to. Like it's just add tiny bit. Add some simple delay just to make it wide. And then I have some EQ, just taking out a little bit of the mid frequencies. So all together sound like this. And add a little bit of compression to glue it. Some EQ, this is automation. And then this is just some EQ taking off a little bit of the top and some mids and like some clashing frequencies. I think they were clashing with the vocal and the bass and everything, so I just like put them in the back and cut some frequencies. And then I have a brass sound. It's not too cool, but it's something. It's like brass stabs. It just like fills out the background. And I have the same in the chorus. This one just a little bit EQ because it was like clogging up all the low end. The low end was very with the bass, it would clashing with the bass all the time. So when you master it, it would just sound like a big mush. So I cut off all those frequencies because I just want the extra crisp on the top so you can actually hear it, and I don't want it to like clash with the kick or the bass. And I limiter to it, just cuts, like glues it a little bit together, and then some OTT compression. Then we have the effects. The effects are pretty basic too. Like we have some build-ups with some impacts, and we have some textures. And I think this one is the best one that actually gives a lot to the song. It's the textures they have in the verse. It sounds like this. And then put some effects on it. So without effects, it sounds like this. And then we use the same effects as before. So in the track, it sounds like this. Every time you come around, you know I can't say no. You can barely hear it, but it's there. It gives a little bit of spooky feeling and gives into the vibe. I think it adds a lot to the vibe. And then I have some impacts like in the intro. Just like an impact, and then we have a riser into the verse. Nothing special there. And then we have the build-up. The build-up consists of like some drum build-ups and some like basic risers. So we have this one. And we have this one. And we have some risers. And we have this one. And all together, they just add a lot to the build-up. And I have some textures in the chorus that sounds like this. Gives a little bit of energy to the track. And then I have a little small build up in the chorus just to take it out of the chorus. It sounds like this. Basically the same as the build up, but it's just not as much stuff. So in the mastering chain, I used, let's go here. So this is without the master. I added a little bit of like glue compression with the SSL compressor. Just to glue it a little bit together. And then I added a little bit of distortion. More glue. You see the concept? Glue, glue, glue. And then I added some dynamics. And this is like a multi-band compressor. Similar to OTT, but this is only downward compression. Just tiny bit, just to glue like different frequency spectrum together. I think maybe sometimes you need to glue the bass a little bit more than the rest of the track or the mid-range or whatever. And for this track, I only like glued the bass part between like 20 Hertz and 126 Hertz. Just tiny bit together. And I think it gives the bass a little bit more cohesiveness. And then I added this motherfucking plugin. And then I added sausage fattener. Like this is a good plugin, but it's easy to overdo. I might have overdone it a little bit. I use 6%. I think you mostly just need to use like 2%. but this gives so much to the track. And then I added some Oxford inflator just to crush it a little bit more. It gives it a little bit more toughness. I think that gives it a little bit extra, and then I have a limiter. And it just glues everything and makes it louder. I think the track actually sounds a little bit better without all these effects. Maybe you need one or two of them. But if I don't have them, it's not going to be as loud. And if it's not loud, it's not going to be competitive. As competitive. Well, there's a whole discussion about it, but I think I needed this to make this track work. And I think that's it. I think we have all the effects, like the synth parts, the kicks, the bass. All right, I think that's it. We got everything from the drums to the bass to the synths to the effects and the mastering chain. And if you have any questions about something, just ask them. Like, put it in the comments and I will respond to them. All right? Peace.
Every time you come around, you know I can't say no. Every time the sun goes down, I let you take control. I can feel the paradise before my world implodes. And tonight had something wonderful. My bad habits lead to nights sitting alone. Conversations with a stranger I barely know. Swearing this will be the last, but it probably won't. I got nothing left to lose or use or do. My bad habits lead to white eyes staring in space. And I know I lose control of the things that I say. I'm just looking for a way out now. I can't escape. Nothing happens after two. It's true. It's true. My bad habits lead to you. My bad habits lead to you. My bad habits lead to you. Every pure intention ends when the good times start. Falling over everything to reach the first time spark. I can feel the paradise before my world implodes. And tonight had something wonderful. My bad habits lead to nights sitting alone. Conversations with a stranger I barely know. Swearing this will be the last, but it probably won't. I got nothing left to lose or use or do. My bad habits lead to. It's true, my bad habits lead to you. My bad habits lead to you. Took a long way round and burned till the final. My bad habits lead to